A maid's daughter, in a billionaire's mansion, uncovers a secret that even the Sheikh himself didn't know. Imagine being just 17, invisible to the wealthy world around you, until one day you open a drawer and find forged signatures, fake companies, and a plan to steal $2 billion. Now imagine overhearing the criminals whispering, "By tonight the money is gone, and the Sheikh will never know." But instead of running, hiding, or staying quiet, this teenage girl stands up, risks everything, and exposes a scam so massive it shakes Dubai to its core. She confronts corrupt executives. She walks into the Sheikh's office with evidence. And what happens next? Not even she could have imagined. Stay with me, because this is the unbelievable true story of how a maid's daughter became the hero who saved a billionaire's empire and changed her life forever. Welcome to BrainFuel, where real stories ignite powerful emotions, inspire hope, and remind us that heroes can come from anywhere. If you love life-changing stories, twists you never see coming, and narratives that keep you glued till the end, hit that subscribe button and let's dive into another unforgettable journey. Stop! Don't touch that safe. The words escaped Ira's mouth before she even realized she had spoken them. The sound echoed like thunder through the Sheikh's marble hallway, bouncing off crystal chandeliers and golden pillars. The three accountants, men in crisp suits, froze instantly. Their hands hovered over the digital safe keypad, their expressions tightening. In the silence that followed, Ira's heart pounded so loudly it felt like the entire mansion could hear it. She stood there clutching a feather duster, trembling, her small frame dwarfed by the gigantic hallway. She had never dared raise her voice in this house, not once in all the years she had visited with her mother. Yet today, something inside her refused to stay quiet. Ira was the 17-year-old daughter of Maria, the mansion's senior housemaid. Maria had worked for Sheikh Zahir's family for nearly 12 long years, a loyal employee, always respectful, always quiet, always invisible when the rich walked past. Ira often accompanied her mother, partly to help and partly because they couldn't afford after-school programs. But Ira didn't mind. She was observant, sharp, and endlessly curious. While the rich guests talked about stocks, mergers, and investments, Ira absorbed every word like a sponge. And that curiosity was exactly what had dragged her into the center of a billion-dollar storm. The Sheikh's mansion was one of the most extravagant in Dubai. White marble floors that reflected your face, 10-foot portraits framed in gold, security guards stationed at every corner, and a sense of power that hung heavy in the air. Sheikh Zahir was one of the region's most respected businessmen. People admired him for his investments, his charity, and the way he treated his employees with fairness. But for the past 6 months, something had changed. He was stressed, distracted. He stayed in his office for hours, sometimes forgetting to eat. The staff whispered amongst themselves that something terrible had happened in his businesses. Some claimed he was losing money. Others suspected he had trusted the wrong partners. But the truth, far darker and far bigger, was still hidden. Ira had seen the signs too. Her mother spoke in hushed tones at night. "The Sheikh looks tired, Beta. Something is bothering him." Ira listened, but said nothing. She had noticed the sudden tension in the staff's behavior, the nervous glances, the hurried footsteps when financial officers visited, the locked doors of the executive office. And then one day, fate decided to reveal everything. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Ira was dusting the study, a room filled with bookshelves, expensive leather chairs, rare antiques, and a massive oak desk that smelled of cedar. She worked quietly, moving around the room like a gentle breeze. But when she reached the desk, something caught her eye. A drawer, hidden so well it almost looked like a seamless part of the desk, was slightly open. It shouldn't have been. Her curiosity tugged at her. She hesitated, knowing she had no right to touch anything inside, but a small voice inside her whispered, "Just look. Maybe it's important." She opened it half an inch more and froze. Inside were documents, stacks of them, but something felt wrong immediately. There were transfer forms, authorizations, and contracts with the Sheikh's company stamp. Yet the signatures didn't match the Sheikh's elegant handwriting she had seen many times on framed awards and signed photographs. These signatures were messy, rushed, shaky, forged. Her hand shook as she gently touched the papers. Why would someone hide forged documents in the Sheikh's own office? Something wasn't right. But what happened next confirmed her worst fears. Ira stepped out of the study to get her mother. While walking down the hallway, she heard whispered voices coming from the conference room nearby. She paused, her heart thudding. Two senior managers, men she had seen countless times, were speaking in low, urgent tones. One said, "The final $2 billion transfer happens tonight. After that, we're out." The other replied, "The Sheikh still thinks he's losing money because of the economy. He has no idea we've been siphoning funds for months. By tomorrow, the offshore accounts will be closed, we'll be untouchable." Ira felt as if the ground beneath her vanished. $2 billion. Not 2 million, 2 billion. Her breath caught, her palms grew sweaty. She had stumbled into something far bigger than she ever imagined, something dangerous, something that could destroy the Sheikh's empire. She backed away quietly, careful not to make a sound. Her mind raced. Should she tell her mother? Should she keep quiet? Who would believe her? She was just a maid's daughter. She had no authority, no status, no reason for anyone powerful to take her seriously. But deep inside, Ira knew one unshakable truth. If she stayed silent, the Sheikh would lose everything. That night she barely slept. She kept replaying the manager's words in her head. She stared at the photos she had secretly taken of the forged documents using her mother's old phone. She thought of her mother's job, their tiny rented room, the sacrifices her mother made every day. What if the truth came out and they were blamed for snooping? What if the criminals found out she knew? What if someone got hurt? But what if she did nothing and a kind, generous man lost his empire? By dawn, she made her decision. She printed the photos at an internet cafe near their home and hid them inside a small notebook. She returned to the mansion early with her mother, pretending everything was normal, though her stomach twisted with nerves. Her mother noticed her pale face. "Ira, are you okay? You look worried." "I'll be fine," Ira whispered, though her voice was trembling. But fate gave her no time to think. As she walked past the hallway leading to the executive office, she saw the three accountants preparing to access the Sheikh's hidden safe. That was when her voice, usually quiet, soft, and shy, exploded into the mansion. "Stop! Don't touch that safe!" And with that single shout, her ordinary life shattered. She stood there staring at the accountants, who slowly turned toward her with narrowed eyes. Eyes that silently asked, "How much does this girl know?" Ira felt her legs shake, but she did not back down. She had stepped into a battle that wasn't hers, but she knew she had to finish it. Ira's knees felt weak as the three accountants stared at her, their eyes cold and calculating. For a moment, none of them moved. The digital safe behind them kept blinking silently, waiting for the passcode that would release millions more into the hands of criminals. One of the men finally spoke, his voice dripping with annoyance. "Why are you shouting, girl? This is none of your business." Ira swallowed, her throat dry. I need to speak with the Sheikh, right now." The man's expression tightened. "Do you even know who you're talking to? You're just a maid's daughter. Go back to polishing the floors." But despite the fear twisting in her stomach, Ira didn't back away. "If you open that safe, The Sheikh will lose everything." Silence. The accountants exchanged quick glances, glances filled with panic, not anger. That was the moment Ira knew she wasn't imagining anything. She was right. She had uncovered something massive. Before they could approach her, Ira turned and ran. Her sandals slapped against the marble floors as she sprinted down the hallway. Her heart hammered in her chest, but she didn't stop until she reached the staircase leading to the Sheikh's private study. She hesitated only for a second, just long enough to gather the courage she didn't know she had, and knocked. No answer. She knocked again, harder this time. "Sir, please, it's urgent." Suddenly, the door opened. Sheikh Zahir himself stood there, his face lined with exhaustion. His eyes softened when he saw Ira. "Ira, is your mother all right?" "Sir, I need to talk to you. Please, it's very important." The Sheikh frowned slightly, then stepped aside. "Come inside." The study smelled of warm leather and old books. Papers were scattered across the desk, along with a half-finished cup of Arabic coffee. Ira realized he must have been awake all night. "What is it, child?" he asked gently. Ira's hands trembled as she reached into her notebook and pulled out the printed photos, copies of the forged documents she found in the hidden drawer. "I think someone is stealing from you." Her voice cracked, but she forced herself to continue. "They forged your signature, and they're moving your money into fake companies." The Sheikh stared at the photos, confusion shifting into disbelief. "What are you talking about? Who gave you these?" "I found the documents in your desk drawer yesterday, and I overheard your managers talking about moving $2 billion tonight." A heavy silence filled the room. The Sheikh placed the papers on his desk slowly, as if they were poisonous. He looked up at her, his voice suddenly sharp. "Ira, do you understand what you're saying?" She nodded, even though her legs were shaking. "I know you might not believe me, but I saw everything. I heard everything. They said you wouldn't notice until it was too late." The Sheikh's hands clenched into fists. For months he had sensed something was wrong, funds disappearing, projects delayed, accounts not balancing. But he had trusted his team too much to suspect betrayal. Now the truth sat right in front of him, exposed by the last person he would have ever expected. He pressed a button on his desk phone. "Security, bring the internal investigation team to my study immediately." Within minutes, the room filled with experts, auditors, IT specialists, financial analysts. They examined the documents Ira provided. They accessed the computer servers. They checked the digital signature logs. And every finding confirmed what Ira had discovered. One analyst turned to the Sheikh with pale cheeks. "Sir, she's right. The signatures were digitally altered. Funds have been rerouted into fake subsidiaries. Over the last year, the total loss is approximately $2 billion. The number hit him like a slap. His voice was barely above a whisper. $2 billion. Ira watched him sink into his chair slowly, the weight of betrayal settling onto his shoulders. She felt a surge of guilt wash over her. She hadn't meant to hurt him, only to stop the criminals. The investigators continued working, tracing the scam back to 3 senior executives, men the Sheikh had trusted for years, men he had promoted, men he had treated like family. The betrayal cut deep. Finally, security officers brought the suspects into the study. Their wrists were cuffed, and their faces were pale with fear, no longer confident, no longer in control. The Sheikh stood, his voice like steel. "You stole from me. You stole from my company, from my people." One of the executives lifted his chin arrogantly. "How dare you accuse us based on the words of a child? She's a maid's daughter. She knows nothing about business." Ira flinched, but the sheikh didn't. He stepped forward, his gaze sharp as a blade. "This maid's daughter saw what none of you expected anyone to see. She noticed the forged signatures, the hidden transfers, the conversations you held behind closed doors." He gestured towards the investigators. "And everything she reported has been confirmed." The executives' faces crumbled. Security dragged them away as they shouted last-minute excuses, but no one listened. Their voices faded down the hallway until silence filled the study once more. Ira stood frozen near the door, unsure whether she should stay or leave. The sheikh turned to her slowly, his eyes softened. "Ira, come here." She stepped forward nervously. "You have done something extraordinary today. You saved not just my company, but thousands of employees who depend on it. You protected something much bigger than you realize." Ira lowered her eyes. I just didn't want them to hurt you." The sheikh smiled faintly, touched by her sincerity. "Tell me, Ira, how did you even know what you were looking at?" She bit her lip. "I love studying business and finances. Even if I don't go to school for it, I read books, watch videos, learn whatever I can." The sheikh nodded slowly, impressed. He looked at her with admiration, something she had never felt from someone powerful before. In her eyes, he didn't see a maid's daughter. He saw a brilliant mind trapped in poverty. And for the first time in years, he felt hope again. The mansion felt strangely quiet after the executives were taken away. The tension that had filled the hallways for months seemed to dissolve like smoke. But for Ira, everything felt unreal, like she was living inside someone else's life. She stood with her hands clasped tightly, unsure whether she should stay or run back to her mother. But before she could decide, the sheikh approached her, his expression no longer stern, but filled with something surprising: gratitude. "Ira," he said softly, "please come with me." He led her to the grand sitting room, where sunlight filtered through tall windows, painting golden patterns on the floor. Maria stood there nervously, wringing her hands. A few minutes earlier, security had rushed into the servants' quarters, asking specifically for her, and she feared the worst. When Maria saw Ira beside the sheikh, she gasped. "Sir, did my daughter do something wrong? Please forgive her if—" The sheikh immediately shook his head. "No, Maria, your daughter has done something very, very right." He motioned for them to sit, but Maria's legs trembled too much to move. Ira gently held her hand and guided her toward the long velvet sofa. The sheikh remained standing before them. "Maria," he began, "you have worked for my family for 12 years. You have cleaned our home, cared for our needs, and never once complained. You have served us with honesty and dignity." Maria lowered her eyes, embarrassed. "It is my duty, sir. But today your daughter saved my entire empire." Maria's head snapped up. "What?" Ira's eyes filled with tears as she explained everything: how she found the forged documents, how she overheard the conversation, how she took photos, how she gathered proof. Maria covered her mouth with her hands, both terrified and overwhelmed. "You could have been hurt," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. Ira hugged her tightly. "I had to stop them, Mama." Sheikh Zahir watched the mother and daughter, his heart softening. For years, he had seen Maria move silently through his home, never demanding anything, never showing her struggles. And now he realized how much strength lived in this quiet family. He took a slow breath and spoke again. "Because of Ira, the criminals who betrayed me will face justice. Because of her, my employees will keep their jobs, and my business will survive." He paused, letting the words sink in. but I refused to let her bravery go unrewarded. Ira looked up, confused. Maria wiped her tears. "Sir, we don't need anything. We're just happy—" "No," he interrupted gently. "You deserve more. Ira deserves more." He turned to the girl who had changed everything. "Ira, tell me," he said, "what do you dream of becoming?" Ira hesitated. She wasn't used to being asked about her dreams. For years she had kept them locked inside, like treasures too fragile to expose. But now maybe the world was finally listening. "I want to study business," she said softly, "and cybersecurity. I want to protect people from scams, from people like those men." The sheikh smiled, moved by her courage and her clarity. "Then you will." Ira blinked. "Sir? I will personally sponsor your education, from now until you graduate from university, whether you study in Dubai, London, America, anywhere you choose." Maria gasped. "Sir, that is too much." "It's not enough," he said firmly. "This young lady saved $2 billion. She saved my legacy. How can I let her future be limited by money?" Ira's vision blurred with tears she couldn't hold back. "Thank you. I don't know what to say." "You don't owe me thanks," the sheikh replied. "You earned this. You proved that intelligence and bravery are not limited to wealth." For a moment they all sat in silence, letting the weight of the moment settle. Then something unexpected happened. The sheikh stepped aside and made a phone call. His tone shifted, calm but authoritative. "Prepare a scholarship announcement and schedule a press conference." Ira's eyes widened. "Press conference?" The sheikh smiled. "Everyone should know the truth, not just about the scam, but about the girl who exposed it." Ira's heart skipped a beat. "But I'm not just anything," he said. "You are a hero." Over the next few days, the news spread like wildfire across Dubai. Maid's daughter exposes billion-dollar fraud. Teenage girl saves Sheikh's empire. Shocking $2 billion scam stopped by 17-year-old. Journalists called non-stop. TV reporters wanted interviews. Students in schools held posters with her name on them. People admired her courage, her intelligence, her ability to stand up even though she had nothing to gain. But through all the noise, Ira remained humble. She continued helping her mother with chores, waking up early, studying, and staying grounded. In public, she was a rising hero. At home, she was still Maria's quiet, thoughtful daughter. A week later, the sheikh invited Ira and Maria to a formal gathering with his business partners. The hall was filled with powerful people, CEOs, investors, directors. Ira felt intimidated at first, but when the sheikh introduced her, the entire room applauded. "She is proof," the sheikh said proudly, "that greatness can come from anywhere." Ira lowered her head shyly as dozens of people shook her hand. Later that evening, the sheikh called her aside again. "I have one more thing for you," he said. He handed her a letter with gold seal. Ira opened it carefully, and her breath caught. It was an official internship offer at the sheikh's headquarters. "You don't have to join now," he assured her. "Finish school first, but when you're ready, your desk will be waiting." Ira hugged the letter to her chest, overwhelmed with joy. "Sir, I promise I won't disappoint you." "I already know you won't," he replied gently. As Ira and Maria walked home that night, the world felt different, brighter, bigger, full of new possibilities. Maria held Ira's hand tightly, her heart bursting with pride. "You changed our lives," she whispered. "And you changed theirs too." Ira smiled softly, looking up at the stars. "I just did what was right." And that was the truth. She hadn't acted for reward or recognition or fame. She acted because her heart couldn't ignore injustice. She acted because bravery sometimes comes from the most unexpected places. And in doing so, she stepped out of the shadows of poverty into a future brighter than she ever dared to dream, a future she earned with courage, a future built on truth, a future no one could ever take away.